we're actually getting a lot from our problems. They're giving us something. And maybe if you take a look with me right now, you may notice this and be a bit shocked or surprised that actually the problems that you so desperately want to solve actually are really giving you something that's actually quite juicy, although a bit twisted. So let's take a look. Whenever we really attach to a particular outcome, for something to go a particular way, of an expectation that we have, feels really heavy, physically. It's like an embodied feeling of tension or a weight. And not only that, it tends to have almost like a gravitational pull to it. Like it's saying, hey, this is real. It really is the case that it matters that this video is good, or whatever the problem is. The great thing about problems is that they're never about the circumstances. They're never about the particulars. It's always the circumstances, the way the problem manifests is actually more about how we internally see things. And then our circumstances sort of reinforce that our way of seeing things is real. But problems seem very real. When we're in a problem, when we're stuck in something, it feels very heavy, doesn't feel nice, and it pulls us in, and we get lost. Have you ever spent the whole day just lost in worry or anxiety? This is a rhetorical question. Worry or anxiety, and just kind of busyness maybe, or overwhelm. And it's like you're not really conscious, you're not really awake and paying attention to what's happening, not in like a fancy sense awake, I mean just in a normal, everyday, like self-aware sense of what's happening. Well, why is that? Why do we do that? Why does it have this pull to it? Why do our problems have such a pull? I discovered that it's partly because we're actually getting a lot from our problems. They're giving us something. And maybe if you take a look with me right now, you may notice this and be a bit shocked or surprised that actually the problems that you so desperately want to solve actually are really giving you something that's actually quite juicy, although a bit twisted. So let's take a look. I'll focus on mine, which is this video good enough? Which is a great big problem. And you can notice whatever problem that is present for you in your life. If you don't have any problems, I applaud you. Like, I'm envious. I'm not really, but I feel good about that, hearing that. But if you do have a problem, if you're like me, if you have at least one problem, bring the problem to mind. Notice where you feel it in the body. What is the experience like physically? Try not to get lost in the thinking about the problem. Focus more on the embodied feeling. And I'm going to do it too. And then, so firstly, I notice self-consciousness coming in. Like, is this going to be any good? And then, oh, what are you going to think of me? Will you like this? What does it mean about me? Would I fail if I get it? And if I'm literally feeling like I'm being sucked back. I don't know if I'm physically moving back, but I feel like I'm being sucked back right now into the tension in my jaw and my back. And it's like my world is kind of like contracting. And as I'm being pulled into this problem. And actually, if I stay here a minute, there's a way it feels quite good. Not in a wholesome sense, but in a slightly twisted, pleasurable, maybe even kinky sense of like, oh, I'm getting something from this. There's juice here. And what is it? What am I getting? If I take a look, control and certainty and safety. there's a lot of control in having a problem. Because when you have a problem, even if you're helpless to actually solving the problem, you have control because you have the experience of having a problem that you're helpless to solve, and you're certain of that. You're certain in your helplessness. You're certain that the problem is something you need to fix. That gives you control, in a way. It gives me control, don't know about you. It gives me certainty. And it's powerful. There's a power. It's like using power to kind of twist my experience in on itself to give me a feeling of control. Ooh, that's interesting, isn't it? So my problem, this feeling, this tension, this heaviness that pulls me in, actually gives me certainty and control. So what would happen if I was to let go of the certainty and control? So no, that's uncomfortable. Because now there's fear, there's vulnerability. My experience is changing as I'm doing this, and I encourage you to do it as I'm doing it. And you can always pause, and if it takes a while to get used to the feeling and explore it, just pause and, stay with me. I'm noticing that as I let go of it, it's really uncomfortable. And I feel a bit more vulnerable. And I'm noticing that I have no control over what anyone thinks about me. Whether they think that all I'm saying on this channel is bullshit or not. Or if they're going to judge it. I have absolutely zero control over all of that. I have no control. And worse, I don't know who's watching. I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense. So I'm uncertain. And there's not knowing. But it also feels alive. Because if I'm not certain about what this video is, then suddenly it could be anything. There's possibility now to make something really new. I could go off script. It is off script. So there's an aliveness quality, and I wonder if you can, just checking the camera, wondering if you can feel that a little bit, that energy, the difference right now. And what tends to come with that is this, for me, it's also a feeling of lightness, because it's not so heavy. I'm not so contracted around or grasping to some problem. There isn't really a problem. There's unknowns, but it's wide open right now. It could go any way. That's what it's like to explore heaviness and this feeling of lightness. I'm realizing more and more that this feeling can be used as a pointer. See, if we're in the middle of our day, if we're in a problem, like we're working, maybe somebody says the wrong thing, or a customer on the line who's mad or something, I don't know. Any problem that happens in your profession, right? Or your life, if you're a student, or any problem that happens, it doesn't matter, that you react to, the reaction's heavy. It's not light. It's not light to be caught in a reaction. But if you notice that it's heavy and it doesn't feel good, you can tell. You can recognize that it doesn't feel light and easy. There's an expansive, light feeling to not having a problem that you're grasping onto. And if you have that feeling of lightness, if you recognize that, you can start to do what we just did here together. You can notice, hey, where exactly do I feel this anxiety or tension or heaviness in my body? Because even anxiety is also kind of heavy. Where do I feel that? And can I really feel exactly where it is? And can I just be with it for a minute? And then can I notice the meaning and significance I have around this problem? And then can I make the leap of letting go of that as a reality? Because if you can let go of your problem as something that is real, you're free of it and you become light. And suddenly you can do anything. You can maybe even do the same thing, like whatever your problem was, you can approach that thing with no investment, no attachment. Because you're seeing that really it's not a problem. It's only a problem if you make that real. And now you know that you make it real because it gives you control and certainty. And it allows you to be a kind of sovereign of a very small world. And when I say you, I speak for myself. This is what it gives me. And when I'm the sovereign of this small world, in a way that's powerful. I have complete certainty and control. I can lock myself down. I can make this problem super real, like the realest thing. I can completely dominate my own experience with this one problem, or however many other problems. But really, it's not really, it's not happy. I'm not happy. It's not free to do that. It's not real power. It's a shadow of power. It's the kind of power that we tend to take on when we don't have access to feeling really empowered. It's the kind of power of being a victim. And I'm not the biggest fan of that word, but it does fit here. I don't like to make people wrong for what they do, but this victim quality is actually this experience, rather, of being a victim of one's own problems is really powerful experience, but it's a shadow of being empowered. And being empowered involves a lot of uncertainty. Suddenly you're completely with what you can control, which is your own experience and your own being. You do have a say over that. You do have a say how you express yourself and if you express yourself. That is in your control. And when you do that, moment of self-consciousness, just noticing that. See, the thing about these problems and these realities is they can creep up on you. So there's that tension. And if you catch it in real time, suddenly, oh, it doesn't matter if I completely lose my way now in this video. That's fine. I can make another one. I can shoot this again, or I can release what I've got. And does it matter anyway how it goes if the exploration is real for me? So I can reframe it, and the meaning and significance that comes with these problems, it isn't real. It isn't real. You can practice. As a practice, you can notice that you're in your problems, name them, own them, and realize that they're not really problems. No matter how serious and personal they seem, no matter how actually, even if the circumstances are terrible, the actual experience of having a problem is something we're doing. You can have, with great skill, you can have any circumstance happen and not make it a problem. And it might be a very difficult circumstance, but you can still be with it. You can still fully experience it, be involved with it, without making it a problem. So we don't have to make things problems. And when we step out, it's very light, it's expanded. Suddenly we're in touch with ourselves, with this possibility. We didn't know really who we are or who we could be until we're in touch with that possibility. That might not have made sense, but hopefully it conveyed the message. If you're in touch with the possibility for how your life can go, and it's open-ended, it's really alive, you're connected to life, and you're not stuck in a problem. I thought I'd also give some maybe practical tips to think about that might help you in this practice. noticing problems. Noticing problems and the heaviness of problems and stepping out of them. What I've noticed for myself is that outcomes and expectations are usually where it starts. Problems tend to form, and heaviness and contraction tend to form when we have expectations. When we think something should go a particular way. We get attached to our limited way of wanting something to go a particular way, and then we stop being open to it going a different way. And then we end up attaching to the idea of getting a particular outcome, or that we behave in a certain way, like a good way. You ever had that experience of where you go to bed at night and you think tomorrow's going to be amazing. I'm gonna get up early. I'm gonna do all these things. And then you wake up and you don't do that, but you enjoyed the feeling of the fantasy that you would behave differently. Yeah, it's this ideals and expectations thing, right? So this is a good place to start. Notice if you have ideals or expectations and see if you can let them go. You don't necessarily need them. And if you are going to have expectations, like if you don't want to completely let them go, that's fine, but then have low expectations. Start your meditation habit with 5 minutes a day, not 2 hours a day. Start with low expectations, and then when you exceed them, you get to feel great. So if you're going to have any expectations, make sure that they're low ones, not high ones. I've kind of hinted at this already, but notice how you're feeling in your body. Your body keeps the score, but also your body, you can feel it right now. And if you practice getting in touch with how you're actually feeling moment to moment, see tension, heaviness, these experiences of tension and heaviness and difficulty, they don't feel good in the body. They feel heavy. They feel unpleasant. And we usually ignore that and press on and think and stay up here, right? But it's possible to get into, notice, I'm feeling heavy right now. Stop. And here's another thing, slow down. When you notice that you're feeling heavy, slow down. Make it a priority. How you are being is very important. You don't realize how important it is, probably. Because you think the outcomes are important. But really, how you're being is actually even more important most of the time. Because how you're being has a big effect on yourself and everyone around you. And it has effects that are hard to even quantify. But hey, even if you don't believe that, wouldn't you rather be happy? You want to be happy in life? You got to make it a priority. You want to feel good in yourself? You can't be making problems, living your life in problems, as in concepts or certain experience of something, some problem being real. You can't be living your life in those realities if you want to be happy. Because those are not happy realities, are they? They're difficult, painful, and unnecessary most of the time. So make it a priority for you to be happy and to have what you want. And part of having what you want should be being happy. Smile. That's another thing you can do. Make light of it. You notice you have a problem? You don't need to take it so seriously. It's only serious because it's your problem. And however it dresses itself up, it might dress itself up as not being your problem, but I assure you, if you're experiencing a problem, something as a problem and painful, it's because you're making it about you in some way. So can you notice that there's more than you and I? There's a whole world out there. There's a whole universe out there. You don't have to make things so serious. Maybe none of this has any meaning. Maybe all the meaning in this life is made by humans, because humans make meaning out of things and make sense out of life and have big brains. Maybe all the meaning and significance and personal attachment you have to life, maybe none of that is necessary. Maybe it's a lot easier to just let things be, to let go of your personal significance and meaning around things. Yeah, so smile. Make jokes about it. Don't take it seriously. If you have a problem, don't take your problem seriously. I mean, I don't mean do nothing about it. I just mean don't make it heavy and contracted and like that. Instead, you do what you got to do, but don't make it dominate your whole experience. It's not worth it. You can feel empowered even if you have a really difficult circumstance. You can feel empowered. Look at what happens when there's a crisis in the world. Something really bad happens. There's a natural disaster. And people pull together. It's almost a cliche to talk about this. People pull together. They don't, and it might be painful or difficult, but they're not really heavy. They're in action. They're doing something. Right? They're doing something. They're helping. They're serving. So you can respond to something really tough without it being terribly painful. Right? Without it being a problem. I want to say something also about building confidence in this process. This is something I have to remind myself every single day, is to build confidence in yourself, trust in yourself. You can remind yourself each day, you can practice, and you can see that you'll grow as you do. And it's okay to be lost in a problem all day long. It happens to everyone. You can be lost in all kinds of weird realities that aren't like the real one, whatever that means, that are all these conceptual worlds that we make, you know the drill, all these narratives we make about our lives, personal narrative and meaning, we get lost in all that stuff. But you can step out of it, you can name it, you can practice. You can notice when you're feeling heavy, you can get slightly better at noticing it and stepping out of it, slightly more empowered with practice, and be gentle with yourself about that. Don't be hard on yourself when it doesn't work out. Don't be, this is a lesson I really wish I'd learned earlier in life. I used to be really hard on myself, and still am. But I think being hard on yourself, it's another one of these, it's like a problem. It's like you're making yourself the problem when you're hard on yourself. You're making yourself the object of fixing. You need to fix yourself. But I know enough now, I've done enough work, that I know that there's nothing you need to fix about yourself. Ultimately, if you trust in yourself and trust in this process, this life process you're in, and are this life process you are, what will happen is you'll start to expand yourself, your sense of who you are, more and more. And that's going to include all the difficult stuff. It's going to include, you're not going to ever lose the aspect of yourself that can procrastinate or that can get anxious or make a problem out of something or judge. You're not going to lose that, but that gets embraced. It stops being the whole picture. It becomes it kind of takes its rightful place. It doesn't become the whole world. So I hope those tips are helpful in taking this practice on. And by this practice, the thing we talked about today, but in general, everything else I talk about on my channel, I think that a lot of what I'm saying is pointing to the same general ballpark of things, which is that, hey, you have this really mysterious and incredibly complex and beautiful experience of yourself and life, and you can discover things about yourself. You can put attention on your own experience, and you can make some huge changes in your experience. You can free yourself of a lot of stuff by looking in. And I'm not saying that you can't free yourself of things by changing your circumstances, but I think that you get to a point and really the work is in integrating more and more of your own experience and just becoming fascinated with life, becoming connected with life. I think that's a good way to live. And I hope others feel the same way. And I don't think that this is talked about enough, or that enough people see life in this way, and perhaps don't realize that. I think a lot of people realize that, success is overrated, even though we chase it, and that it's not going to make us happy. But then what? What do you do then? How do you actually be happy? And that's what we're interested in here. We're interested in discovering what it is like to be a fulfilled, connected human being. By getting curious about what's really going on in our system, in this experience we're having, investigating it, and realizing we're a lot more empowered than we might previously have thought. I hope this was useful to you as always, and I hope to see you on future episodes. Take care.